Shirororororo.
Yes, here you go.
Someone's been
Welcome.
watching One Piece again.
Still in one piece. So here we are for another episode of Würfelcast.
Indeed.
If anybody has seen the post about our show being in an hour, it's all shenanigans. It's all it was how do you say it was a raft in a time space continuum. It's a kind of a, how do you say about that? In anachrony, there was like, what was the term in anachrony about? If you
an anomaly.
Anomaly, yeah, it was anomaly, something like that in time space continuum. Yeah, just Kyle, just so in US, you hop into the future earlier than we do, and
we end later.
And you end, yes. So for us, while this time, this plus 1 hour travels towards Europe and towards Estonia, we're still in the past, and you're in the future. But that's not the theme of that's not the theme of today's episode.
No, it's not.
So today we're gonna look into our experience of a, let's say, a board game event. We're just gonna talk about games we've played, and mine is a usual, let's say. So basically, mine is board game camp that began as a tradition in Estonia. They do board game camps. But in recent years, after COVID, I've not been going to that board game camp. And instead, with a few of my friends, we decided to do our own, let's say, a home-based board game camp where we just, take the weekend, play games. Usually it's 4 of us. This time it was 3 of us, sadly, but we still got to play quite a few games. And yeah, and for Kyle, it was Dice Tower West. That's 2024. Right. Not 2020, no. Not 2021, 2024. No.
That's right. It was 2024. It was this year. It was just.
So here you go. Yeah. And so we're just going to go back and forth. We're going to talk about games, what we think about them. And I'm sure you definitely can share some comments about the games I played, because you played all of them, and whatever you played, I'm sure I have not played. So
that might be true. One of the games we played, you've played.
I see. Does it start with V and end with Voidfall?
No, I didn't play Voidfall at the at Dice Tower West. I just taught it. I taught it a couple of times. But
I see. They still use you. Yeah.
It wasn't to Dice Tower people, but they had it set up. They had it set up so that it would fit on a table, which wasn't any of the tested scenarios. So I kind of came up with one on the spot. I sort of played it enough to know how it should look when it's set up, and then taught some people the rules a couple of times.
I see. You should be the aficionado, or you should be the official Dice Tower Voidfall teacher.
I think I probably am. I'm the unofficial one at any rate. That game is
soon
so weird to teach.
I'm sure in few years they'll give you a lifetime achievement for teaching long, complicated games.
Well, probably not, but at least they've all gotten to know me.
Yeah, true that. Anyway, let's dive in, and why not start with you and tell me about the Dice Tower West and the games you played. We
Yeah.
go back and forth.
Sure, that works. So, just sort of for reference, Dice Tower West is held at the Rio, which is an older casino in Las. It's just off the strip, off the main street in Las Vegas. It's the last time I went there, I was not convinced that the building would still be around this year. It had it's a casino that's been around for a very long time, and it really shows. Now, in the last year, they found some sort of an angel to invest lots of money, and the place is much nicer than it was in the past. Put in some new air filtration so it doesn't smell quite so strongly of cigarette smoke. They've cleaned up the
I
room
see.
so that you don't see that mysterious stain on the floor and say, "Oh, I sure hope that's urine." Um, it was
Are you sure? Are you sure it was an angel, not like Angelo from some kind of mafia? No.
I don't know who did it, but somebody spent a considerable amount of money on sort of some upkeep for this building, and so it was much nicer than it's ever been in the past when I've
I
been
see.
there. And so that's good, right? You know, having it be a cleaner, nicer place is definitely a good thing.
Sure.
And so it's
Yeah.
just this building has a huge convention center, and the Dice Tower West takes over most of it. There's sort of a main hall, and then there's another side hall that's twice as big as the main hall, just for open gaming. They have a hot games room, which is about the size of the conference room on the cruise. Um, just with games set up. That's where Voidfall was. And then they have themed rooms that I didn't really go to. Like there was a Lord of the Rings room, collectible card game room, which really aren't my thing. But if you wanted to play those games, you could go to them. And then they had a vendors area that was very small, but a few kind of local stores and there's a local game table maker and some people who do like 3D print stuff for Etsy. They have kind of stands that are there where you can buy some stuff. There's a couple of game publishers there as well. So it's a small convention, but much like the cruise, it's one that's more about playing games. Although they do have more events than say the cruise or whatever, just because they've got more people there. So that's kind of how it works. And so basically, this year, my brother usually attends with me, and he had a list. We'd sort of been making a list together whenever we say, "Oh, we should play this game sometime." We put it down on this shared cloud note list, and we just kind of started on the list. So the first night I got there, kind of late, he was playing Root, and so once he finished, it was late, so we just played a good old classic game of Forest Shuffle. And Forest Shuffle's one I've talked about a lot before, but it's still a fun game. It still works really well as something you can just teach people. People pick it up very quickly. Does not take too long. It's interesting how it all works. And so I was a good way to start our convention with a game of Forest Shuffle. Now you've not played Forest Shuffle, although you've been offered an opportunity. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
Perhaps you will. Maybe.
Uh,
I am excited that its expansion is coming out next month. I did not think it would get an expansion, but I've played it online and it's decent. It just adds a couple more trees and about 4 more animals, so it gives you a little bit more to kind of experiment with. It's a game of really, you're trying to make these scoring combinations. Everything will score based upon the things around it, and you're building a cute little forest at the same time.
yeah. Amazing. It's a beautiful game. It's
Well, it's a fine game. It's actually a lot of fun, and like I said, it's very easy to just sort of set it up. There's really only 2 or 3 rules, and you can play a game out in half an hour at most. It's a great small card game, and one I've played, in the 50s of times.
see.
So
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I'm proud of you for playing Forest Shuffle again. I'm kidding.
There you go. You want me to hear the games I played? That was the first one I played.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm kidding. So what have I played? So in Board Game Camp, so we, as I said, we make it like a home-based Board Game Camp kind of a thing with just a few friends, and basically what we do, we take my collection of board games and another person's collection of board games, because usually when we went to Estonian board game camps, both of us usually brought our own games that we have not played. So it was the best place to, to find people to play the unplayed games, to get the list of shame down to a considerable, not considerable, to a fair amount. And so this time I had a bunch of unplayed games for some weird reason. I came home from the cruise. I opened my luggage. I've not touched the luggage since I booked it at the airport on flight, and the luggage came back, and I opened it, and it was full of games. And I mean, I was surprised. And
did I sneak some garbage games in there? Is that what?
Yeah. It has this distinct smell of Kyle. I'm kidding. No.
Probably has the distinct smell of socks and dirty underwear if you haven't opened it since January.
Yes. No, I'm kidding. No. So yeah, I brought some games from Kyle, and I had some other games that I bought that I have not played yet. And so what we do, we create a smaller list of games from each other, and then we pick games from each other, and create this kind of a shared list where half the games are from him, half they from me, and we go back and forth with those games. This time, most of the games we played were my games, because his choice of games was not so good, and my choice of games was very interesting for him as well. So, and the third person didn't. The third person didn't care, and so they played along. Anyway, the first game we played was Dwellings of Eldervale.
Oh, I like that game. You did not get that one from me.
No. I got it from the store, and I bought so basically I didn't back it when it was on Kickstarter, and so I bought it from the store, and then I bought the two upgrades, which were the legendary something, and I don't know, deluxe and legendary boxes, something like that, with the bases, with the component. What?
That game is, the way that they market that with the different editions is so confusing. I don't know the difference between deluxe, legendary, ultra legendary, and all the different levels they.
Oh no! Basically what, if you go to retail right now, I'm not sure, it's probably out of print right now. They're printing it again, but
they're in the fifth printing already. This thing has been a cash cow for them.
I bought a base game, and then there is a separate box, just a box, like deluxe upgrade box, which has deluxe resources, and I don't know if they're miniatures or not, and then there's like the legendary upgrade, a second separate pack, which has, I think, miniatures and those sound bases, whatever they are. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, you did buy that?
I got all of that. So
the most ridiculous game component.
Yeah, but it had it had those bases, but it had the miniatures as well. So I had to buy it, and so it just came along. Not just the bases. So yeah, I do have almost everything. I don't have mercenaries, maybe some, Kickstarter exclusive, some small maybe promos and Oracle and stuff. Whatever, it's small things. Anyway, so we played the game, and I was expecting a good game, and I got a good game. It's
good.
We'll say a territorial worker placement game where you have different kinds of workers, and they have the fighting abilities, and you have some of your workers have special abilities, and they're different from each faction, and you have several factions. I know how many, and the boards for factions are double-sided as well. So you have like around 16 different options you can pick from. And then you also have elements, and you basically combine the elemental tiles with the base game tiles, and you're trying to kind of build up your card engine, buying the cards, and build up your dwellings, build your dwellings on the board. Dwellings are like almost like houses. You make your workers into houses, and then try to score the most points. It's abstract in a sense, but the whole idea of getting those cards going on adventure, basically getting the cards and putting the workers down, and they have different stuff. And then there's monsters. You can fight the monsters. You fight each other. The combat is random. But it's fine. It's fine. I don't care about that. Some people would care about that. I don't. Sometimes you roll 6 dice and you lose because none of them was a 6, and the other rolled 2 dice and one of them was a 6.
Yep.
They win. Is it fair? I don't think so. Is it fun? Yes. So yeah, and yeah, you collect different resources. How you manage the resources and how you do the actions. It's very easy to understand the game itself, because you take your pawn, you put it somewhere. It's done.
Yeah.
And when you don't have any more pawns, or when you want to pass, you basically regroup your workers, which is call them back, which is one of the mechanisms in, for example, Manhattan Project and Manhattan Project Energy Empire, for example, which Luke Laurie is the designer of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you have this same thing going on. Now, what's great about that is that usually in these games, when you take the workers back, this is your whole turn and it's not exciting. Here, recalling your workers is also a very exciting thing, and that's where it's a longer turn that you usually do, because when you put out a worker, you do a small thing. But when you call them back, you can use all of your workers to put them on your different cards that you have collected so far, and those cards will activate and give you extra stuff, abilities, whatever the text says on them. And that's a lot of fun. You're sort of trying to build up the engine, so when you recall your workers, you get a ton of stuff.
Yep. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
That you can do on the board, on those tiles. In what?
Oh, there was a
hello.
But I'm back now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some of the actions that you do on your board, thankfully, you have those basic cards where you can do the same actions on the cards as well, which is great. So it's not like you're blocked from doing the basic actions on the board. Amazing. You can still summon. You can still build, which is one of the main things that you want to do. And yeah, the whole game, it's an epic production. So the thing is, some people might go in and they might not get the once they play, they're like, oh, it looks so epic, but it's not. Yes, it looks epic. It's not that epic. It's not. The whole game is much easier, much more condensed, much more streamlined than it looks. It's the same as with like Scythe. Yeah, where we look at the picture like, oh, it's gonna be a war game. It's the same thing. The box shows you this epic monsters and fighting and whatever Lord of the Rings story going on in there. No, nothing like that. Is it fun? Yes, mechanisms are fun.
Yep, it's definitely a small game in a big box. But I really like this game and I enjoy it solo. I saw that there's some more stuff coming out for it. I think they're working on, finally, after several years, another expansion. Because this has been
expansions.
Yep. They just announced it on Friday. They sent it to their mailing list.
I see.
Some more mercenary characters, which are like that Minotaur. or there's another one that you can hire.
I was
I
thinking
don't.
about buying that. Yeah,
You
the
know,
mercenary and the shapeshifter, some of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there's apparently working on some more stuff like that, but we'll see.
All right. Cool. Let's go.
All right, my next game that I'm talking about. So I spent some time in the hot games room. One morning, I got there a little early before my brother, and after teaching a game of Voidfall, I sat down because they had prototype versions, but nice prototypes of a couple of games I had been interested in. And the first of those is the game. It was, I think, it's still out on GameFound, called Inferno. It's one of the two Dante's Inferno games that's out there.
Uh,
And this is just plain
yes.
Inferno.
Yeah.
And this
Okay.
is the Euro game version. And I wanted to try this one because so initially I
Ooh.
had known about the sort of other one, the Dante Inferno game. And then but I heard, but this one launched its campaign just like a day before. And so I saw that it was up and I was like, oh, that does not look like what I was expecting. And so I wanted to sit down and play it. Now, it was the prototype rule book, which had some like handwritten changes and notes in it. Um, the board was all there, though, and all of the sort of core game pieces looked like they were in final form. But what you're doing in this game is you're going to move these souls down from one level of hell to another. And your goal is to try and get them to sort of where they belong, because when that happens, you'll get some points. And then wherever you move that sinner to is going to tell you which of the actions you can do in the city. And so you're going to be either kind of like what the game you just talked about, either sending out your workers or recalling them. You can either send out one worker and perform the action of the place that it goes to, or you can, if you already have a worker out there, pull, or you'll move it to kind of the garbage bin, which is called the tower, um, where it won't be useful, and then pull all the rest of your workers back, and then you'll send a sinner of the matching color of the one that went to the tower into hell to be used by someone else in the future. You'll move up on a track. You'll activate the track's bonus, and then you'll move Dante down this. He's sort of moving on his journey down into the center of hell, and you'll trigger some sort of bonus or scoring when that happens, and that's also the game timer. On
Okay.
its whole, it's a pretty simple game, but
Mm-hmm.
where sort of the fun, or the sort of what makes it different is sort of that way that worker placement is selected, because each of the 8 actions of the 8 spots you can go to is associated with one symbol, and you have to go to the symbol that matches the place where you moved the worker, or you moved the soul in hell. And if it moves one space, but if that space is occupied, it can move farther. And I found that to be a very interesting puzzle. I found that to be extremely difficult for people that I taught it to. For some reason, they wanted to sort of skip that part and just go to the worker placement.
Hmm.
And I'd have to remind them, okay, yep, before you do that, though, remember you've got to move the soul down. And so if you're teaching the game, I think that's something you're going to have to stay right on top of, because if you don't move the souls, then the game will last forever. Uh, well,
Okay.
actually, anyway, um, but it's on the player aid. It's not like there was an excuse for not doing it. It's just people have an inherent desire to go out to the location they want, and the sort of process to get there was a little bit less intuitive. Um, and then some people had a problem with, the when you want to accuse the sinner, you already have to have the worker out there, and they'd want to sort of do an accused turn where they'd put someone out to accuse. And that was another thing, sort of this process in time, that some people that I played, because I played it a couple times. um, so I will say that was, it might require a little more work to get people into the game, but I think once you kind of understand those concepts, it's a pretty straightforward game, but an enjoyable one. The rule book was a prototype rule book, and it was, let's just say, I'm really hopeful that it will be a little bit cleaner in the production copy. Some rules weren't really there. Some things were explained in sort of a roundabout way, but I can't really fault it for that because it's not the fun. I mean, it was literally a bunch of pieces of paper stapled together. Um,
Hmm.
there are the interesting sort of variety in the game will come from the different bonuses for the circles of hell. Those are going to vary game to game, and then you're going to have two guardians, which are characters from, well, usually mythology, but also that show up in Inferno in the poem. That are going to, one of the bonuses you can get is to activate them, and they all do different things. They have 6 of them that are sort of native in the game. You'll play with 2 each time. The one that was set up on the table had Medusa, and you'd move her somewhere, and then she would freeze one of the sinners. She turned it into a stone. There was a token you'd put out there, and it would never move again. And then there was the King Minos, who was kind of boring. He just you got to put this token out, and then whenever a sinner scored in that sector, you would score some points as well. He was kind of a lightweight in terms of
Mm-hmm.
what you could do in the game. I don't know that I would be excited to play with him again. But the others,
Okay.
it looked like I read from the rules, seemed like they'd be fun. I liked this game. I was not sure, but it's an enjoyable game. I'm looking forward to kind of the polished production copy, but it was fun. I had a good time with it.
All right. Sounds fine. Sounds like try before I buy. Because
Yeah,
sounds like a Euro game. Yet
is.
another one.
It is
But
very much
maybe it's
one.
fun.
I had a good time with it, but I would say, if you were looking for this game where Inferno, the sort of story jumps off the page,
Yeah.
maybe not this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, because it's an interesting theme, a different theme
Mhm.
from any others, and I would love to see someone go wild with the theme
Well,
a little bit
and
more.
it's definitely there, but it's there as a matte painting in the background for you to play your Euro game on, rather than this is. But no, I'm not saying it's dry and not thematic. It's just very much a Euro game.
Yeah, points for the sake of points. Yeah. All right. So for my next game, this is something that you've definitely played, and you might have got rid of that game in some mysterious ways.
Mm-hmm.
The game might have traveled long distance to reach me, and I had to play it, and then
I didn't travel a long distance to reach you. It traveled a very short distance when you pulled it off my shelf.
Yeah, then it traveled the long distance.
But to reach
Anyway.
you, it only traveled a few feet.
True. Anyway, Overboss is the one that I played. Yeah. I hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
This one's not very good, but
so we played the game of Overboss, and this is it's a spatial puzzle game where you draft tiles along with small tokens, and then you put a tile and a token on top of it, and if it matches, it matches. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Sometimes you will be able to kind of switch, very bland mechanism of why do you draft tile and a token together, where, like, if you, for example, if you would draft them together, you can decide where one or the other goes, or some other rules for that anyway. And when you draft them, you put them on your player board, and there's it's two-sided. There's this like a smaller one, and then there's the lighter longer game and the shorter game version of the board. What?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Anyway, we played the shorter version. And this is how you place the tiles. If you played quadruplet, for example, where depending on where you place the tiles, that's how they score. Some of them score based on the set collection. Some of them score based on if it's next to this one, or some of them score if they're surrounded by 4 different types of other tiles, etc., and so on. So it's just, kind of like a collection of those tiles and how they score. You put them out there, then you score them, the game ends. There's small few things, like, for example, there's those dungeons, which doesn't really, it's just another tile for scoring. And then there's the portals where you could do something I don't even remember, like exchange something like that with the portals, and crystals, which give you just points for each of that particular tile that you have. Nothing really going on in there. I went to play it once, and like the replayability comes from different tiles that you can mix and match, and that's how you can get the replayability in a sense. But it's not like every one of those tiles scores so differently and so excitingly that you're like, okay, so this one scores that way, this one scores that way, but eventually it's samey.
Yeah, and the problem with those separate tiles is that you use most of them, but not all of them. And so you've got to kind of sort them all out and then mix some back up, and then at the end of the game, sort them all out again, which is really kind of a pain.
Yeah, the setup and tear down.
Yeah. I like that you have sort of your character that has some sort of a wild way to score. That could be fun, but it's never all that exciting. It's just, okay, if I get this, then I score 2 points or whatever it was.
So yeah, we played with these special abilities, which is like extra thing. It's extra, but should have been just, just how it is in the setup right away. Anyway, we played with that extra special ability where you, as soon as you reveal it, you will use its power. And I'm like, yeah, but the power is not that exciting. And why would I, maybe then you see that I collect these tiles and then you will not, maybe you will draft them. But mostly you want to draft stuff that you want because the board is so small. The board is so small. Okay, you play a longer game on the other side, you get 4 extra spaces, but it's still not that big where you can hate draft a lot. And so what's the point of keeping your powers hidden until you reveal and use it, and it's meh? It's just the game shows you the box where you're gonna be the boss monster, you're gonna be building dungeons. Nothing like that. It's just an abstract, average spatial puzzle game, and I don't like spatial puzzle games. But I'm glad I tried it because at some point I really wanted to try it, and I tried it, and was I satisfied with the game? No, with the thing that I at least tried another game and yet again realized that spatial puzzles I don't like at all. Then
yeah, I was kind of disappointed by this game. I played it several times when it came out, and then but it just never really took off, and nobody I played it with really
what's that
enjoyed it that much.
Person
turquoise wizard wand. What?
Hello.
I don't know what that means.
It seems like maybe the iconography on the messenger or whatever, like the
maybe well a very interesting comment.
Maybe it's like a wizard holding the wand and it's turquoise, and
person turquoise wizard wand. Well, there we go. That must be how you say hello in the Philippines.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I found Overboss to be a disappointment as well, but I'm glad you got to try it.
Yeah, what's yours?
My next one is the other Inferno game. So they had both the Euro version and the non-Euro version right next to each other. This game is called Dante: Inferno. And Dante: Inferno was the one that I knew was person turquoise riding headphones. Okay. This was the Dante Inferno is the one that I knew about. It was from the same company that did Chronicles of Drunagor, which is a game I like a lot and been playing a lot again lately. And this is
no
very
pictures.
much the it's just, you could probably find it on game. Well, there you go.
Oh.
Some. But this is very much the story adventure version of Inferno. You are a group of characters that are going down into hell, and you're playing through a story. This game is probably it's a lot like Oathsworn in that what you're doing is there's going to be a scenario of kind of a choose your own adventure where you're preparing for a battle, and then you're going to go and set up the battle board and have a confrontation with some sort of a boss. And the way it was set up, there was just the confrontation scenario. So I haven't played the choose your own adventure version, but that's okay. I'll look forward to trying that again. And you've got a team of 4 people, and you have this board, and on the board it starts with some wounds, but they'll kind of gradually kill themselves or move themselves off, and you're going to take as many actions as you like, as long as you have room for them. And so, each action, most of your actions are on these cards. You play the card, you do the action. Eventually, you're going to attack the malefactor, and you'll roll some dice, and the dice have either hits, double hits, or a miss symbol. And if you get sets of if you get the miss, then what you're going to do is flip this card over. So when you hit the boss, you're going to take a card out of his deck, and if you have the miss side, enough of them, you're going to flip it over, and the boss is going to hit you back. And so it's sort of a balancing that, figuring out how many dice to roll. You'd think it would be great to roll a lot, but if you get a lot of misses, he's going to hit you back really hard. And your goal is ultimately to kill the big boss. Now, the scenario we played, you could also destroy his throne, which really wasn't necessary, but you could. And then later on, his wife shows up, and you could also win the scenario by defeating her. And she was much weaker, but also harder to hit. So you could kind of play through that, and I'm assuming whichever one you did would affect the story that you ended up getting. But it's a really fun tactical combat game. It's very, very loose and a little bit sloppy in the rules. But again, I'll give it a pass because it's a prototype. And it's a lot like Chronicles of Drenagor, which is a game I enjoy, but also a little bit sloppy in the rules. And a little bit like Oathsworn, a game I enjoy, but also a little bit sloppy in the rules. But very much a game about experience and going through and having this adventure. And the rules kind of step to the back, I guess I would say, which is what you want them to do as you're and there's a bunch of crazy stuff you can do. Like you can pick up that throne, or one character who can pick up the throne and just throw it. Toss it across the room and hit the guy with it. You can jump up on those pillars and then jump from pillar to pillar to get out of the way more quickly and stay in safety. There's just a lot of silly stuff you can do. The game is sort of trying to anticipate all the things a player would want and allow them to if they would like to. And I had a really good time with it. Definitely one I'll want to play all the way through the campaign once it comes out and is available.
Okay, yeah, not my style, but totally fine.
Yep, but definitely more thematic than the other
yeah. So sounds like that. Yeah. So for mine, so this is another game that has a spatial puzzle feature and is beautiful as well, and at least the deluxeified version, and had few mini expansions in it. And that's Power Plants. Oops.
Oh.
Oh. So yeah. So
that one.
Don't know. It's just happens. Just happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Just sometimes that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Yeah. So so what to tell you about this game? It's beautiful. And this game it's not hard, but one thing is that basically what you do is you pull out quite a few different plant cards, and they give you the 2 different actions, the sprout and grow actions. And each of those actions has a text, basically, and you have those several flowers, and now those flowers are represented by those tiles of different color. You can see red and blue and green, etc. So
No, don't forget, you've got red, blue, green, and a different shade of green.
Yes, there's that as well. Anyway, so you will be getting a few of those tiles at the beginning, and then you'll be pulling some of them from the bag. But basically, you choose a tile from your reserve that you want to put out, and then take a wizard and put the tile out. And then, you have to put it somewhere so it connects to other tiles, and then you either activate everything around this tile that it touches, or you activate the tile itself, which is like a sprout or a grove, which basically activates the other tiles. And you're trying to it's an area control, area majority. You're trying to get to those tiles. Some tiles have the points on them, so you want to control them so you can get the points from them. And those tiles have all the different abilities, how they activate, how they grow, kinda, how they sprout. A lot of messing around with the board with other people. So you might do something, but then on the other person's turn, they can basically negate what you've done by doing something else themselves. So it's hard to explain, but it's a spatial puzzle which is ever changing based on the player's actions. Now, sometimes it's just not fun. You sometimes you just want to build up, and then there's two other people playing with you. Two other people just mess everything up, and what you do, you try to repair that stuff, put it back again, and then they mess you up again. And we played with the mini expansion, which was the Wizards mini expansion, which everybody has their own wizard, and that wizard blocks the tile that you're on, so you cannot, manipulate it, which is great because having several wizards on the board kind of helps not to change the landscape too much until the turn comes back to you. I imagine if we would have played with the original rules with just one wizard, it would have not been as fun, because that would change the landscape even more. You can mess even more. And yeah, overall, it's not a bad game. It's a fine game. I enjoy how different plants have different abilities, how they sprout, how they grow, but area control, area majority is not my style, and spatial puzzle is not my style. Sometimes you just get lucky as well, sometimes unlucky, whatever you pick from the bag, sometimes the tiles you have might not help you. You can kind of exchange the tiles, but only if you have two of the same tiles in front of you, then you can exchange it from the common pool at the center from the three tiles that are available there. And then you can put the mini expansion of a shovel where you can basically use the shovel once in order to exchange tiles once, but then in order to get the shovel back, you need to do something special, blah, blah, blah. This game would have been more fun if it would not have been that in your face, take that ever-changing landscape spatial puzzle, because spatial puzzles are great when you can build something up. Here it's all about trying to build something up and mostly destroying what others do.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of this one either. It just really never took off for me. I didn't find the special powers to be all that exciting. I found people had trouble remembering the difference between what growth meant and what sprout meant. Those little fairy things that you put out, those were, I don't know, it kind of felt, and I didn't like that if you don't play it in great lighting, some of the colors will look really very much the same. And I know they have a different design on them, but there just wasn't a really easy way to kind of identify what things did. It just kind of all fell flat for me.
Yeah, it felt like a little bit too much text. For example, you're playing with, let's say, 6 different flowers, and each one of them has a sprout ability and a growth ability, and some of them are straightforward, some of them are more complicated. and then you put your tile down, and you want to choose growth. Okay, you choose growth, and there are 3 different tiles surrounding you. Now you start reading again. So what did green tile do when it grows? What did the yellow tile do when it grows? What did the blue one do when it grows? And you're like, I missed it. So the thing that I wanted it to do was a sprout, not grow. Oh,
Yeah.
you get confused, but it's just too much information for such a simple game.
Yeah, and sprout and grow are kind of synonyms for each other, so that doesn't help either. So,
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
well,
Anyway.
there you go. I hope you
Yay.
played some good games.
Uh,
Uh-oh.
2 games were good
Okay.
out
All
of
right.
8. Okay.
Well, so we're back to me. And for me, the next game we played was one that I had played before, and I go hot and cold on this game a lot. I change my opinion about it a lot just because I don't know. I think some people think it's the greatest game ever, and I had a good time with it, and I hadn't played it for a long time, and so my brother had recently been gifted a copy and wanted to dust it off, and he's been playing it a lot lately, and that game is Brass Birmingham.
Maybe it's just a tribute, not the greatest game.
Oh, okay.
The Tenacious D. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
But anyway.
So this one is very much an economic game. It is a spin on the game that the original game Brass. And what you're doing in this game is you have a hand of cards, and you're using the cards to take 2 actions on your turn. One of the actions is frequently to borrow money, which hurts the income that you can do. And then what you're trying to do is place these various tiles out on the board, but not just place them. They're going to come with something on top of them. And you have to get that thing off of them before they activate and sort of give you the points or income or whatever else it is that's in there. The board, at least the version my brother has, the board on the other side is much lighter. The dark one of the complaints I had with it was how dark the board was. I'm wondering if it's on the other side of mine or not. I have to get mine out and see. But
no, I'm fine with that dark board.
It makes it a little difficult to see when you're in the room with it.
Okay.
But it's all about building up your network, and it does have a lot. Whenever I would play Nucleum, people would say, "Oh, this is a lot like Brass," and I was not as familiar with it because I hadn't played this game for years. And no, there's the better side. That's a different game, though. Anyway, so I see a lot of the sort of similar concepts that are coming out of it, and I enjoyed it more. I think I've maybe evolved a little bit as a player, and I love Nucleum, and so there's a lot in here that I enjoyed as well. I had a good time with it. It was there are some concepts that will be very difficult for people to pick up on their first time. I'd played it before, so I was able to pick them back up again pretty easily. But I could see some parts of this game being aggravating for people. But it's a good game of network building and sort of trying to optimize the limited turns that you have. It's not particularly long, and I had fun with it. So there you go, Brass Birmingham.
Yeah, I had a copy and I played this game and I rated it highly. I thought this is a great design. Actually, this is a really good design. Now, why I got rid of this game? Because I didn't want to play it again. It's a great design that I don't want to play again because while I was playing, like I'm usually not the one who gets AP problem or anything like that usually, but in this game it just stressed me out too much.
Oh.
It's I felt like I was tired. It was like, that was so great, but I will never want to come back to this game.
Sure.
It's just how it is. And I feel like some other people will probably feel the same. It's just too too adult of a game, too close to mathematical equation and work and stuff like that. It just doesn't feel like it's fun, you know? When I get into games, I want to feel amazing, epic, funny. This game does not provide any of that for me, at least. And for my type of people, it will not. So, it might be a great game, but just yeah. It's a for concentrated amount of people, and people who it's the same, like the games that reach top 5, let's say, of Board Game Geek usually are the games like with Twilight Struggle, etc., that people who love it, they love it and they rate it a 10, you know. And there's some other ratings, of course, but there's like people who look at the game and they're like, nah, we don't want to play it, they will never play it. So there are those games, Brass Birmingham, Twilight Struggle, some other games, which people will just not, you know, many people will just not touch. It's not a game for everyone. And thus, those people who had not touched it, who might not have liked it and rated it a 3 or 2, you know, it's that would have messed the ranking of that particular game.
Mm-hmm.
So these are specific games for specific people, and that's why it's high on the list, high on the ranking system. But it's not a mainstream game in a sense, like Wingspan, let's say. Yeah, Wingspan. Anyone will play Wingspan, let's say, and try it at least once. This one, I'm sure quite a few people look at this game like, no, I will not be trying this one. I don't know how to explain it, but it's
sell itself very well. I will definitely give you that.
All right.
Well, there you go.
For my next pick is something that you and I both enjoyed. And yeah, I'll just go through it shortly. It's Evenfall. I played with you 2-player, so now I played 3-player, which is good. Because I don't think I would love to play a 4-player game. I really enjoyed it 2-player because it's just faster, and it's an engine building card-based engine building game where you acquire those lands or whatever they are. I don't remember what they're called. Basically,
sacred sites or something. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, you there's no theme here. And you combine them, with the various artifacts, which will then score points. And then it has this Elysium thing going on. While the cards are in the upper part, you will benefit from them, but you will not score points. Once they are in the lower part, they will start scoring points for you at the end of the game, of course. But now here you have 2 types of workers, and there are workers who work with the cards below and workers who work with the cards above, etc. So, but you can only use the workers from above in order to go to the central parts of worker placement. But worker placement is very narrow here. It's more of a and there's some area control as well, area majority. I'm sorry, but very narrow. It's mostly just, you know, get the right cards, build up your engine of many cards, try to get the cards below so you can score them. One cool part about that is that, for example, in Elysium, you could not really use the cards which went down into the lower part. Here, those cards are very much functional. One thing they don't do is that they don't produce resources, but it's not such a huge deal of producing resources. You kind of want them, but then you can build up your engine in a way where you don't need to rely only on the upper part of resource production.
Well, and once they've moved down, you can actually activate some of them. You have 4 workers that really aren't good for anything.
Which
cards down.
Basically, you can mix and match different stuff and try to just build the coolest engine. One thing about that is that there are a lot of cards. There are copies of those cards, of course, but still, you have many different opportunities, and on the other hand, having a lot of cards, you pay a lot with the cards as well. And those different factions, they have different approaches to them. Sadly, there's only 4 of them. I would have loved to see maybe 2 more, different things, but probably it's because of the balance issue of those powers. Some of them are not.
Maybe.
For example, I found that red player is very exciting with those stones that you so you want to acquire the stones and then you get all those. Mine was I think it was the blue, where I could exchange the resources with like better conversion rate.
Yeah.
1-on-1 or something like that, and then I could build the remember they're like the people and the counselors and whatever they are called. Basically, you can put the cards underneath your player board, and they have this end game condition, scoring condition you scored at, and then I could do them easier because they were less expensive for me. But mostly it wasn't as exciting as, for example, red's power or going up the track, the black's power. It seems like some of them are just more interesting in terms of this game, because this game is all about the engine building and moving up and trying to get as much as possible. Anyway, Evenfall is still a really good game. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like the game a lot. It's a fun game. It's light-ish, fast, and just a lot of things to try and explore.
Amazing. Okay, what's yours?
All right, the next one we have is a game that I had played before, but just the one time, and I played it now a second time with my brother. And this game is Hegemony. And this is, and I've played it with 2 players and with 3 players. And I actually think 2 is my preferred player count. I've not played the 4-player version. But what you have is you're in a state, and one player will play the government, one player will play the working class, one will play capitalists, and one will play middle class. And you're all trying to sort of work together, but work for your own good. So if you play 2 players, it's the working class and the capitalists. And the capitalists have goals like keep taxes low, so that what they want to do is, after they've paid all their taxes, they move money into their capital, and then it scores them points. And so they want to keep taxes and expenses low, but they also need to open businesses so that working class people can go there and work and produce things, but then they have to pay some of their cash to the working class player. So there's this interesting symbiosis that's going on. The working class player wants to keep, doesn't want taxes to be too high, but would prefer them to be paid by someone else, in this case, the business owner, and also is trying to sort of manipulate and form trade unions and such. And it's a very interesting game. It does not feel like really anything else that's out there. I enjoy the sort of different sets of powers and abilities. The rules of the game, I'll warn you, are kind of a lot. There's a lot of phases, a lot of little things that you're going to try and do, and things that you can easily forget. Now, most of the gameplay is pretty fast. You're just going to play a card and either do the action on the card, or just not do the action on the card and activate one of your basic actions, which could be a variety of different things. And once you kind of get through the rules overhead, it can be really interesting. But it's definitely a game where you have to sort of work together, but work better than, because if the state implodes because there's not enough tax revenue, well, then that has consequences as well. And so, you're trying to sort of keep things afloat, but also very much working for your own goal. It's not semi-cooperative at all. It's very much a head-to-head game. I have a lot of fun with it. It's not a game that I would play with everyone. It is a game that I would play with a select group of people. I've not played it with 4 players. My concern is I can't tell whether this is a 2-player game that can be stretched to 4, or a 4-player game that can be collapsed to 2. And from what I've talked about, what I've heard from other people, it's probably the former. It's a 2-player game that can stretch to 4. But I think it's a fun game. It's definitely not a looker. And you see the box and you'll say, "Oh, that's probably not for me," or "Hey, that's definitely for me." But I have a lot of fun with it. I'm looking forward to trying it again, hopefully soon, before I forget everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I need to try it. It's hard to. I looked at this one. It's hard to understand unless you've probably tried it and then you could
A
kind
lot
of.
of the rules don't make sense until you sort of experience them in the wild.
Yeah. All right. So for my next pick is something very light, another spatial puzzle board game. You see, I torture myself. It's like Inferno. I don't like spatial puzzle games, but when to try them, if not during board game camp, where I have so far tried a lot of garbage. No, I'm kidding. Quite a few games were good. This one is Acropolis. Because we like, so it was the end of the day, and we're like, so we don't want to stay up too late, and then to continue tomorrow. So what do we have that's very light and very easy to learn and to be over in half an hour? And that's Acropolis. So.
Sure.
As I said, this is a spatial puzzle board game. So you can see the different colors of the tiles. And some of them have the stars in them. So the stars are basically the scoring multipliers. And the other ones are connected to those stars. So example, if I have 1, 2, 3 blue stars, and then I have the blue tiles, depending on how they score, and those different colors score differently. For example, the blue tiles score the biggest group in your section, and then the I don't remember, the yellow tiles are marketplaces. I think they score if they are separated from each other. They don't want to be next to each other, and the green ones score somehow. I don't remember, and the red ones need. They always score okay. The red ones, they need to be in the outer parts. Yeah, so all of that. Anyway, and then you collect the stars, and you can see you also have this building up, like in Taluva, building the second and maybe the third level. You put the things down on each other, and that's how you can get a better scoring. So basically, if you put the same tile that scores you, let's say, level 1 scores you just 1 point, kind of a thing. Level 2 scores you 2 points for that particular space, yellow space. Level 3, if you put it on level 3, it scores you 3 points for that particular space. So yeah, you get more points. That's the whole story. You just build it up, and then you score based on their objective on how they score. It's very easy, very light, and it's just another spatial puzzle game where stuff scores somehow, and yeah, you're building up. So one thing is that it's like in Taluva, so building up, but it's not as exciting. It just gives you an extra point for that tile. I didn't feel like, I don't know, it was just boring. Just boring. Yeah. It's a boring game.
Well,
I don't see how it's so popular.
I will say that no one I have played it with has enjoyed it as much as I do, and I don't love it. So it's a fine, short, fast game, and it's inoffensive, but it's also not all that exciting.
Yeah, it's short, it's fine, but it's just, there's nothing there. Nothing. Except if you play it with maybe families and children. It's at most for the casual gamer. It's something you should buy in Target and play it. Just does not excite me. And I like lighter games as well. Look, I love lighter games. I like, for example, Camelot, a lot, and which is also a very light family type game. But this one, no.
All
All right.
right. Well, the next game I played is a game that you played and just loved. You loved this game. This is a hidden movement game combined with card drafting called The
Hmm.
Beast. And I had not played it when you were playing it, so I didn't really know what you were experiencing. My brother has played it several times, and he likes it. I enjoyed the game. I mean, I don't think it's going to be my favorite hidden movement game. What basically the way that this
Yeah.
works is one player is a team of hunters and another player is a vicious beast that's trying to do, and you're trying to do certain things depending on the scenario you're playing. There's a lot of different scenarios. The game doesn't give you a lot of guidance. The rule book is pretty darn bad. The way things are
Yes.
organized is very difficult. I was
Yes.
glad that my brother had already gone through the effort of learning it. But what you're going to do is you're going to draft these cards. There's sort of just a sort of pass and pick and pass draft, and then you're going to use the cards, and you can play one or two cards on your turn, depending on whether they have sort of these coordinating symbols. And the hunter player is trying to move around, pay attention to what the beast is doing, and find it and then attack it enough times that it dies. Or is trying to sort of prevent the end game kind of trigger from triggering, sort of prevent the beast from winning because the hunter player will win at the end of 3 rounds if the beast has not already won. And the beast has this big deck of movement cards, and they're going to be, north, west, east, and south. And you're going to sort of play a card that says, move 2 spaces in the same direction. And then you'll sort of put down, 2 norths or a didn't move and a north. And you're kind of keeping track of this. And then eventually you're going to reveal yourself and attack something. And by doing that, you're going to be working towards your goal. You can attack sheep and bears, or boars. You can attack the people. You can even attack the players, depending on what you're trying to do. Each round has kind of a goal you're going for. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. But I don't know that it does anything that's that different from some other games that already exist, like Spectre Ops, Fury of Dracula, Letters
Yeah.
from Whitechapel, Terrorscape. These other hidden movement games that I think just have a few more hooks in them. One problem I did have is because you're drafting the cards, you don't always know what you're going to need for the round. And so you can
Yeah.
find yourself, you can always move, but you can't always search and attack. You have to have a specific card if you're the hunter for
Yeah.
doing that. If you're the beast, you can't always attack and activate your prey. And I found that to be a source of some frustration in the game. And I can see a lot of players finding that frustrating, that you really can't do what you want. Whereas in the other kind of hidden movement games where you're not dependent on that card draft, you can do what you want. You can always move and attack. And I wish there were
Yeah.
some way to kind of enable that feature. I think that would help the game on both sides and make it a little bit more fun and a little less frustrating. I did have a good time with it, but I don't know that this is. If you said I really want to play a hidden movement game, this is not the first one I would recommend by any means, and not because it's hard, just because it's not as exciting as any of those other games.
Yeah, look, I learned it from the rulebook, so we learned as we went. The rulebook is really bad. I played
It's
the
very bad.
beast. I played the beast, and I think we understood the rules correctly. Why I didn't like it at all is, and we didn't play it till the end. First of all, because of the learning curve, probably it's just it might have diminished my excitement for the game. The other thing is that, as you said, I felt like it was a forced. So basically, you can get some cool cards, but then you have to get them from this market, and you can use them once. What? I wanna just, if you want to give me an upgrade system, make me amazing. Just when I do the upgrade, now this card is with me the whole game now. Like deck building, something like that. It felt like everything was just trying to diminish me, to make me more limited as a beast. I don't know. They played the hunters. They were not also excited to play the hunters.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I can see that. Sort of both sides have a deck of a market that you can play for one-time use cards.
it's so bad.
Also, the cards, there's three sort of decks, right? There's the item deck, there's the ability deck, there's the talent deck.
Yeah.
And then there's a fourth one. There was I forget the fourth one, but there's four different decks. And and they're all kind of synonyms for each other, like the ability deck versus the action deck versus the talent deck. It was hard, and okay, they say something different on the other side, but it was kind of, tempting to put something in the wrong discard pile, which, the cards would then say draw a card from the ability deck or draw a card from the action deck. And if you put stuff in the wrong places, that could be confusing. It wasn't inherently clear what went where.
Yeah, and you have different markets. Like, for example, this is the action deck for the beast. This is the weapon deck, whatever its name is, for the hunters. It's all the same cards, basically, like the same function of a card. It just, theirs called the weapon, mine is called action, whatever. And your own board, how you upgrade your own board was not exciting, and it was kind of a bit difficult to do. Once you attack at least something, you've been revealed, and it's really hard to move away. I felt so limited. I felt like if I wanted to play the beast. If it says the beast, it's a title, beast. I felt like I'm a small mouse trying to run away from the beasts. So the hunters felt for me, we didn't finish, so I played only half the game, so I cannot say objectively it's an imbalanced game, but it felt like one. I didn't feel like I'm an amazing beast and they tried to hunt me down and I'm fighting back. I felt like I'm a small mouse just trying to sneak in, get the cheese, sneak out. Okay. I think even with the half the game behind, I think that this is a bad game. This is not a great design.
And I didn't think it was bad. I just think that there's a whole lot. It's a field that's not that crowded, but I think the other games that are in this field are all better than this one.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just a subjective thing. Yeah, because I usually don't like to finish games before they're finished. I mean, like, abruptly finish the game, because I hate it so much. This one was one of them. And it's a very rare case. Very rare. Almost none of the games were like that. Anyway.
Okay. Well, there you go.
All right. For my next pick is, how much time do we have?
I have to stop in about 40 minutes. So I think we're probably okay to finish.
Okay, so we'll just go briefly through. Yeah. I have 3 more games. Yeah. So now it's my turn. Just briefly, Sovereign Skies.
Huh?
Sovereign Skies.
Where'd
yeah.
you get that one?
I don't know. It just popped up and we just played it, and I'm so thankful to that person who gave it to me. Because it was such an amazing game.
I'm glad you liked it. I thought it was mediocre, but
amazing. Now, look, this is a game.
Colorful.
Yeah, this is a space game where you are going around the board in a kind of a Mancala type of thing, mechanism, and you are activating the different spaces, and 2 of the base actions are put down your ship and get a political card, which is just a symbol which you can then use in order to influence or whatever, or pledge or something like that, and then get the points basically, and then somebody else can pledge and then take the points away from you. Or that's how it is. And then you eventually you can build the bases on the board, and they will act as for the majority type of thing. Like, for example, if you have a base, they like other people can have several ships there, but you have one base, you're above them, you win the majority in case of like the looking at the territory where you are. You can it's also based on the, so when you build bases, and when you upgrade the bases, you get points. Yay. And in order to steal points from another person, you must have majority on that particular planet with that particular political card, whatever. And then you can also get the influencers, or whatever they were, senators. I think senators, yeah. And you also get points, from buying those senators, and they are like one-time ability. You play them as a free action. They basically do the same as the actions on the board, but they are just like an extra bonus thing that you can do. Put more ships out, get some more credit, build a stuff with a discount. And yeah, that's the whole game. You just go around and pay money in order to move further than just one space, and then do the same stuff, collect those point tokens. It's not exciting, and we played with the special abilities, and my special ability was not exciting at all. I was like the money ability that I could collect money by destroying the ships. I could get money. Like, destroy any 2 ships like on the same planet, then you get 3 money. I'm like, that's not a good conversion rate. Why? You want to build bases and stuff. Anyway, it felt something like that. And then the other person had the ability where they can always use, like, so basically those senator cards, they have like 2 actions, and you can choose only one of them. So their special ability was that they could use both of the actions. And wow, this was so imbalanced, because I mean, getting 2 actions instead of just one with those senator cards was just too powerful. Mine is like, you get some more money by destroying my own ships. I'm like, what? And you get to use both of the abilities on the card. Just too much. It's just, why? No, not balanced at all. Probably a Kickstarter promo type thing, exclusive that they got, and like, oh, we got to this stretch goal, let's add some powers. No, bad thing. I don't know, and I'm just speculating, but the whole game is just, it wasn't bad. It's boring, just boring.
I found it to be enjoyable but forgettable. Was kind of how I remember it being. I liked it as a solo game. It was enjoyable.
Okay.
With more players, it was just okay. I mean, it's got, if you want a rondel game, there are better ones. The space theme is barely there, and
it's not there,
and it's there. It's just barely
there.
Where on it's depicted on the board and on the box.
True. Yes. Okay. The pictures of the planets. Yes, I see. I
said barely there. I did not say it's a rich, deep thematic experience. I found it enjoyable but forgettable.
Look at these ships. Those ships, the custom ships. They look like one is a carrot, another one is some kind of other vegetable. Where's the theme?
We call that a vegan dildo.
But they look like one. Look at the ships. So like, why? Why are they so long?
It's an okay.
Yeah.
It's an okay game.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, at least you didn't buy it.
The box is good looking. I mean,
the box is very nice. Anyway, well, there you go. Sovereign Skies. All right. I have 3 more games to talk about from my collection.
Talk about 2 only.
Talk about 2 only.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to talk about a game that I played. This was one that I've talked about Darwin's Journey a lot, so I won't talk about that one. The game that I talked about that started with the letter V that you have played before is Veil of Eternity. And they had 2 copies set up. So I have this game. I've actually, so this is a game that I played on the cruise and I liked, and I have been playing it since then. Sheho sent me a copy, and I've actually been playing a lot of this game. And this is a game that gets a lot better the more you play it. It is once you
Maybe.
can sort of recognize the cards and the different combos you can make, and you sort of know how
Yeah.
it fits together. This game gets to be really quite good, and so it was there, and I was excited to teach it. A very simple game is this sort of a draft of you're going to draft 2 cards in the round, and then you're going to activate them. You can sell them for different kinds of currency. You can use the currency to play cards. There are cards that do things immediately, cards that give you ongoing special abilities, and cards that activate at the end of the round. And you're trying to sort of get to as many points as you can in 10 rounds, or get to 60 points and just end the game prematurely. And there's everything really works together. And I really enjoy sort of now that I know, I've seen every card, I've played every card. I must have played this game 25 times by now. And I mean, I could always check. And I was really excited to teach it at Dice Tower West. It's just one that I'm glad I have my own copy. I really it's one. Look, 2-player I think is the way to play this. So with more players, it's okay. You'll see more of the deck, but I think that other players kind of just add time rather than adding more fun. Perhaps is what I would
Mhm.
say. I guess how I would say it. Um, I really like this. It's hard to play it without mentioning the word Pokemon, because I've played it maybe 3 times. There we
Yeah.
go. Um,
Mm,
and they're not Pokemon, but they are. They
yeah.
sort of feel like you're catching them all, and
Uh,
they're
uh,
killing each other. But
mm,
it's hard to play without thinking about Pokemon. And but it's
um,
a bright, colorful game. I enjoy sort of this tight resource constriction. You're only allowed to have 4 of those stones, but it can be any 4 of them. You can have the expensive ones or the cheap ones. But you might have a card that says, okay, the ones are actually worth 1 more. Plus, every time you spend 1, you get a point. And so now you're thinking, okay, well, maybe I don't care about those purple ones. That's not what I want. They don't give me anything. And so there's just a lot of different variety and things to kind of manipulate and play with, and I had a great time with it.
yeah, it was okay.
Because
I
you only played it once.
I know. Yeah, I don't know. It's not my type of game. It seems. I didn't
It
like
was
the
about my
I didn't like the bidding and the money system. I don't like at all.
yeah. It
And
was about
collecting
the
cards was
7th
good.
play when I thought this is really something special. So I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe if you play it a bunch of times, maybe if you get Cheho to send you a copy. Um,
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I understand the Pokemon thing, but it's actually really not at all. Uh, don't get confused. And I love
it's
Pokemon,
not a
and
Pokemon
I've played a
game.
lot of Pokemon
Yeah.
games. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I can see the reference. All right, so for mine, for my second to last pick is the game that you know well. So I finally played it. It's Wormspan.
I know that game well.
Yeah, you most likely like it.
I
Look,
do.
I'll say it right away. If you enjoy Wingspan, there's a chance you will enjoy Wormspan, because I would say 70% of DNA that Wingspan has, Wormspan has as well. It's so hard to say Wingspan, Wormspan. It's about Wormspan, the Dragon
Are you having a
Span.
stroke?
Yes. So in Dragon Span or Wormspan, uh, basically it's the same. You collect the cards, and then you pay the resources, put the cards down in 3 different rows, and kind of where the dragon wants to live, and likes the same with the birds. But the difference is that First of all, you do your action. You don't have action cubes now. You have coins, and you do stuff with coins, and they're not. You don't get less coins as you go further into the rounds, and you can even get extra coins to extend your round. And then the egg stuff is same. Tucking cards underneath is same. What else you get is cave cards. So in order to play the birds, I want to say, to play the dragons on the board, you have to first, create the caves for them. And then you play the cave cards. They give you a small special thing when played thing, a small extra bonus. Then you can play. Now you can play the. I always want to say bird cards. No, dragon cards. You can play dragon cards on top of those cave cards. And what else you can do is you can go exploring, which basically you activate the spaces. Now in Wingspan, you activate those from right to left. And you just activate the cards of the birds that, will activate at that certain time. With these cards, there's also spaces between them that give you bonuses. Small bonuses like extra egg, extra card, extra resource, movement on the guild board, and you activate those spaces and you go from left to right. You activate those spaces and cards if the cards are able to be activated in that sense. And there's also some small baby dragons, which is a strategy on its own, and they kind of need to have a lot of milk or some other stuff cashed on them. As you cash on them, it's the same in the Wingspan. You get points at the end of the game, but you cash on them, and then when you cash enough stuff on them, they give you some extra stuff. But overall, it's basically the same. It's 70% the same game. What's different is that those coins different, how you explore, and exploring is more and more you cannot explore your row. Just explore it as many times as you want. You can explore it up to 3 times on your turn, in the round, each row, and it gets more and more expensive. You have to pay eggs. Eggs are points at the end of the game, so you don't want to really use too many eggs because you lose points. The dragon abilities are fine, and yeah, it's. I don't know. It's the difference. The difference. Another difference is the guild board. So they tried to create a little bit of interaction. The guild board, you move around the guild boards. You move around those spaces. You get small bonuses. Just move on that space, get extra card, get extra resource, get extra crystal, whatever. And then when you reach a certain spot on that guild board, you can choose. There's basically that extra bonus stuff again, or end game scoring stuff, and you put one of your cubes on one of those spots. You reserve the spot for yourself, and you get either the bonus or the end game scoring. Then small extra thing going around the board. Yeah, whatever. It was still fine because it helped you. Sometimes you were short, one resource short or something like that, and it really helped you. And you're building the engine as always. And what I'll say, Wormspan base game versus Wingspan base game. Wormspan is a better game, hands down. Wormspan is just a better game. It builds on Wingspan and does it somewhat better. No dice for resources, no diminishing actions, and you can even get extra. I know. If you're not build your engine well, and sometimes it's random. Sometimes you don't get the cards which give you extra coins. Okay, sometimes somebody will do more turns than you. It's just happens. There's some random elements because there's a lot of cards. The deck of cards is huge, and sometimes you just don't get the cards you want. That's how you need to go into Wingspan as well. Yeah. If I put all of the expansions in Wingspan, I will probably want to play Wingspan more than Wormspan. But that's the thing where Wormspan is just base game right now, and it will have more expansions in the future. I'm sure of it. But yeah, it's an evolution of Wingspan, and it's a better game.
Yep. I would say they're probably closer to 90% the same. I mean, I did not have to teach more than one or two extra rules. These games are very similar. I like them both, but for solo, I
I don't
prefer
know.
Worms
Yeah.
Down.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there you go. I'm glad you got to play it.
Yeah. Very good game. I mean, I didn't say that, but yeah, I really enjoyed the game.
Yeah, it's hard to like. If you like one, you'll probably like the other. And if you don't like one, you're not going to suddenly like the other.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it is. Okay.
So
Your last pick.
my last game that I'll talk about is a very fun game, and I believe it might be on Kickstarter right now, um, for a reprint. And this is a game that is, I knew that I wanted to show it to my brother because it just seemed like the kind of game he'd enjoy. And it's a game lots of people enjoy. It's a very silly roll and move game called Thunder Road Vendetta. Now, they had
Yeah.
just the base game there, and I have the game with a bunch of the extra hazards and stuff. But even with just the base game, we had a good time with it. It's definitely, I feel like it comes alive when you add. Oh, that somebody's really gone all out there. It comes
Mm.
alive when you add in some of the the extra sort of silly road hazards. You might find the jumps and the sticky goo, and your car catching on fire. This is a game where you're not really look. If you take this game seriously, you'll have a terrible time. But what you're trying to do is
Yeah.
kill somebody and then make it across the finish line first. That is how you'll win the game. You can't even make it across the finish line until somebody has died. And I'm always the somebody who dies. So that's okay. Because it's just a game about trying out silly things, crashing into cars and sending them off the road, making poor choices and sailing straight into the sun. It is very light. It's very straight, very easy, and it's more about these experiences. Now, I will say you don't want to play it with too many people because it'll be just chaos. Although I think the
Hmm.
new expansion that's coming out has a version that might be more beneficial for greater groups of players. But we played
Hmm.
it 3-player at Dice Tower West, and that was just about perfect. It was just a lot of fun, a lot of in your face, a lot of trying to avoid hazards and either do so spectacularly or fail spectacularly. Just a lot of fun, one that I really have a good time with, and that I'd recommend to almost anyone. You don't have to be, a super heady player to play this game. You just have to be able to have a good time, and I like it.
Yeah, I also enjoyed Thunder Road. This is something I want to get into my collection. Now, I found base game for the retail price, and it just I feel like I don't want to invest too much right now into games, but I don't want to buy just the base game. I feel like just the base game is not enough game.
Yeah.
It's just a toy factor more than like I want to have some extra stuff, but then I don't know. I think they went a little bit too high on the price. Maybe the production was the thing, like the getting those toy cars. But I mean, they should have done the base game about 40 euros or dollars, something like that, and then pile the expansion on top of it. And then it's just too expensive for what it is. The base game, I feel, at least in
Okay.
Europe.
Okay.
So, but expansions is not that easy to get.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other problem. And
They're all available right now.
yeah,
Well, they're available right now. They're available in a year.
yeah, that's the thing. I don't want to go to Kickstarter and then wait for 10 years for it to arrive. It's like no, not my type. But yeah, I feel like I really wanted to get this game, but maybe I'll get it once it's out and it's widely available. Maybe with the discount, with the expansions, some expansions that I want to get. Then I'll probably get it when it's
Yeah.
out there with all the stuff, and then so I can choose what stuff I want. Right now, just the base game. Like after playing with you, I feel like I don't want to play just the base game. Because we played with some expansions and all of that, and then I really enjoyed that.
We played with a couple of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without those, I feel like no. Anyway,
Okay.
Good game.
Well, there you go.
So for my last pick is
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Look, this game. Okay, so this is the Great Split.
Oh, I have not played that one.
You have not?
I have not played that one. No.
Okay. You might enjoy it. I don't know. So you can see. So here you go. This is the cover. You know, the Great Split. Amazing. Gatsby. This is how the board looks. What's that? Moving on tracks. For whatever reason. I know what's the reason. The reason moving on tracks is that you score points based on where your token is on that track. That's how many points you get, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Based on how many spaces you move on the lower tracks, which correlate to the upper tracks, which is basically the same as with like Acropolis. Like the more of the stars you have, the more is the multiplier of the points, etc. They score a little bit differently, but mostly the same. And the whole premise of the game is that you have the cards here, and they are those movements on the track. They give you like 3 blue crystals is 3 movements on that blue track, etc. And you have some scorings which occur between the rounds and the endgame scoring as well. But between the rounds, only few randomized scorings occur. And the main mechanism is that you have this pocket, and then you put your cards in the pocket, and then you have this divider card. If I don't know where it is, you can see the arrow divider card. And the divider card, you have like, let's say you have 5 cards. You have to, it's like I split you choose thing, where you divide the cards in 2 different groups, and then you give it to your left. And that person takes the group they want, the group of cards, and they returns the what's left over, the second group to you, back to you. Mm-hmm. That's it. So you split, and you want to split in a way that, I really want to get those cards, but I have to split them somehow. So I'll try to make the other pile good for that person, so they will definitely take that pile because I need those cards. And it doesn't really work that well. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. And it's just not as exciting in a sense, because the split is between 2 people. And of course, the one on the right side of you will give you also, like, so basically how you combine the cards back. So basically you have, you will get one group from the person to your right because they will give you the cards they have split. So you choose one group, and then you will give your split to person to your left, and they will return what's left to you, and then you have combined your cards. And sometimes the split might be fair or unfair. It's like if it's 5 cards, how do you split? 4-1, 2-3. It's you might end up with less cards, and somebody else might end up with more cards. It's a small thing. That's how you split. They might be more cards, but not as great for you than those few cards that are more great for you. And then you move on the tracks. You just like 3 crystals, 3 of those books. Oh, I move on that track. Wow, so exciting. And if I move with the yellow shows me that I can move the yellow even further because I stumbled upon those arrows that move me even further in that track. Ooh, so exciting. Yeah, it's just not an exciting game. It's a track. It tracks the game. There's none of the theme. There's no theme at all. Splitting, the Great Split, doesn't feel great. Sometimes you just split, and yeah, you kind of want to watch what the other person wants, but then you don't know what you get from the person to your right, and then you kind of look at what they want, but if there are cards that you really need, you will get you will take the cards that you really need. Anyway, you're trying to kind of manipulate that split, but it depends on what other person decides completely. I know it's that's how you do this. I choose, I split to choose thing. But if it would have been a common pile of things and you split and everybody else then picks drafts from that center thing, then we might have been more fun, because that way we all interact with each other. This way, yeah, I kind of interact with the person to my right, but the splitting goes only clockwise. So when I split, I always give my envelope to the person to my left. Why doesn't it change from round to round to make it more interesting? This time I split cards for the person on the left. Now this time I split cards for the person to the right. You know, it creates a dynamic. Why such a missed opportunity? I don't know. It's just it's just not exciting. You just get those cards and yeah, look, these are symbols. 3 blue crystals, 4 stars. Move out those tracks that many times. Woo! Now at the end, look at all the scorings. Multiply it by 2 or 3. Woo! Fun.
Sounds exciting.
It might be exciting for you. Look, I don't know. It might be exciting for some people. I didn't find this game does nothing for me. It's just boring.
Well, I don't know that I'm super excited about it.
And it looks really bad. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a way to end on a high note.
Yeah. Look, you should try it. You should try it.
Maybe I will someday. It's on Board Game Arena. Maybe I'll try it there. But I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks like the kind of game nobody will want to play with me, so I'm not going to buy it.
And the envelope is I don't know. It's clumsy. It's
okay.
Not.
Well, there we go. 10 out of 10. I can tell.
It is. 10 out of 10 negative games. All right. Here we are, and we're done with this episode. This special episode. We're gonna get back to our usual format. Maybe, I don't know. I need to start my. I wanted to start already, but I didn't start my top 50. I'm not doing top 100 anymore. I'm doing only top 50. But I'll do most of those videos on separate occasion, and then the last 10 will be as a Würfel cast episode. So watch out for that. We'll see when we're gonna do that.
Okay.
And anyway,
and we have Wednesday Whimsy episode 100 coming this week on Wednesday. That's very exciting.
Yeah, not the most exciting game though, but whatever.
Well, for me, look, I've been really good.
In what way? You've been talking about this game for how many years have we done this podcast and we've known each other? And
it's been a while.
I think 90% of episodes you talked about this game.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
I've been good for 10% of the episodes.
Yeah, true that. All right. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we see you another time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yo! Mama.
All right.
What?
Enjoy
What's
your
going on?
Laughs.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.